Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of November 27, 2022. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. As you begin the week, there is an energy that will be very welcome. It is an important peak moment of the larger Mars retrograde season that we are in the middle of. Right now, we are in full force of Mars right now, going backwards in the sky. As we begin the week, it is Mars speaking in supreme harmony with Saturn that is going to be a game changer in a lot of ways for a lot of us out there. Over the course of October and almost all of November, the more dominant energy was the fact that Mars was hanging tight, a conversation of tension with Neptune. This kind of free-floating energy of Mars square Neptune can indicate confusion, but really I see this as wasting energy because it is Mars retrograde now in the sign of Gemini. That has to do with the mind and communication and what we're thinking, but also what we're speaking of. I feel like we have had certainly cultural examples of people who have been saying a whole lot of stuff without necessarily getting to the core of the issue. Mars is a very powerful symbol. It has to do with self-knowledge contained. That's the circle of Mars. But then also an important part of the equation is acting from a place of containment and wholeness and self-knowledge. The action that we take from that place, that is represented by the arrow that arises from Mars. It is right now that, or it has been the case that a lot of us may have felt like we knew something of ourselves, we knew some truth of ourselves, but there's been a disconnect between what we know to be true and how we've been behaving, how we've been acting, and essentially misdirecting that arrow that arises from that circle of completion as represented by Mars. You know, it is a very common saying, know thyself, right? It's a very powerful thing because there's an understanding to the ancients as well, an understanding that knowing whom it is that you are is a position of power. And as much as the circle of Mars represents that self-knowledge, at the same time, Mars also represents our impulses. It represents our most immediate reactions and how we might react to a certain stimuli, how we might respond instinctively and immediately without necessarily taking that moment to cultivate meaningful self-knowledge at that. Mars is therefore strongly associated with our survival instinct, especially that which was put into place in the first 2 years of our lives. And it is Mars that also speaks to an understanding of what it is that gets us riled up. And we can get riled up in all kinds of ways, right? We can get riled up with attraction and what might draw us to another person. But we can also get riled up in terms of what it is that upsets us, what it is that makes us angry. And ultimately, at the root of all anger is hurt. The things that have hurt us will often be the thing that forms what it is that becomes our instinctive, intuitive response or reaction. The truth of what you respond to and why you respond the way that you do. The truth of what it is to be yourself. What self-knowledge means to you and where it is you thought you had it, but you really didn't. It is now Mars trine Saturn that is going to be the saving grace. It is going to start to ground that more elusive and confusing, and I would even say delusional energy that has been there. It is in disillusionment that we might find an openness to possibility. It is only with comfort, with uncertainty, that we might find answers that help to anchor us that much more. Saturn trines are an anchor. And with Mars and the energy of Gemini, this is a chance to anchor, to bring stability to our thoughts, our words, our rhetoric, what we're sharing, how we're sharing it. It's a chance to get honest with ourselves that also includes responsibility and maturity, but it also includes patience. Ultimately, we're all human and we're all learning as we go along. And there are times when the psyche is not ready to acknowledge the root of one's immense sadness. And so, yes, with Mars square Neptune, we saw people hurt people hurt people. We saw people creating pain through rhetoric. Now, my hope is, my belief is that more of us, as part of our own journeys, are going to be able to cultivate the maturity to take ownership for how it is that we are using our words and our thoughts and our actions, so that we do so with the intention of having a positive impact. I also think that it is so important to consider how it is that we treat other people. Mars is also action as well. And I'm of the belief that it is very difficult to have respect for oneself if it is that you are behaving in a way that creates pain in others. Now, there are going to be times when it is not the intention to create pain, but also there are going to be times when other people are going to be hurt by the things that we do out of love, out of innocence. I remember years ago being in Thailand. I've been to Thailand twice, love Thailand very much. I look forward to being back. Just before the pandemic, I had booked a teaching engagement in Thailand in 2020, but of course, that wasn't meant to be for now, but I look forward to being there again. The first time I went to Thailand, I went to the northern part of Thailand, Chiang Mai, and then the second time I spent extended amount of time in Bangkok. I absolutely loved both, but Bangkok has my heart, I will say. Okay, but in Chiang Mai, there are a lot of beautiful temples, like world-renowned Buddhist temples there. Truly is a very powerful place to be. And I remember that outside one of these temples, there was like this little tent with a table, and there was a big sign that said, "Ask a monk." And basically you could go and there would be, tourists, people who drop by any time of the day. And normally there were always like 2 or 3 or 4 people there at least. And you could ask a monk any question that you had. It was quite fascinating. And I remember everyone else had these, kind of simple questions, like how is the community and what is spirituality, things like that. And then, of course, I get my chance to ask the question. And my question is going to be at another level because that's, how I'm just such a nerd. That's what it really comes down to. I am a nerd. I'm going to ask the real nerdy question. And so I remember asking this monk, like, what happens if, a person has truly wholehearted, pure intention to do something loving and has that desire and takes steps from that place to create what they think are going to be loving and positive outcomes, but in the process of that ends up creating pain, ends up creating situations where people get hurt. What happens to that person's karma in that situation? And the monk replied, this is the eternal question that monks and spiritual people and Buddhists grapple with throughout their journey, throughout their lives. And I thought that that was a very interesting thing. I thought also about how sometimes people are, for example, from families where There are certain expectations of them. However, where it is that there's a major disconnect between the expectation that one's parents might have of a person and what it is to be true to oneself, what it is to truly live from a place of love and wisdom, and where that might disconnect from the teachings of, the expectations of our parents, it can be very difficult to go against those particular expectations. And yet, going against it may cause pain in the people to whom we don't want to cause pain. And yet we need to do that to be at peace with ourselves, to be at peace with our choices, and to be authentically ourselves. Some of us have that as part of our journey in this lifetime. And then other people, if they're really lucky, which is a smaller group of people, it tends to be the case that you're very fortunate if that isn't the case, where you have that absolute support to be exactly whom it is that you are, and you find that confidence and nurturing from a very early age and are able to grow in that. That can be seen as a blessing. But I would also say that sometimes our challenges are blessings as well. It is in having a determination to be oneself, to live one's path, that we get to consciously choose what love is towards ourselves that ultimately allows us to be more loving, and where it is that if we were to sacrifice something within ourselves, it would be the opposite of love. I have in my journey been able to encounter all kinds of people, and sometimes you meet people who have lived their life on automatic, have lived their life a certain way. And then what happens? They get a Pluto transit, they get a Uranus transit. Neptune transits, they can be kind of ephemeral, like you just know something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it until you're on the other side of it. But when it's Pluto, it is a confrontation with one's pain. When it is Uranus, it is a major shakeup. When it's Saturn, it's having to look at the reality of a situation, even if it's hard. But no matter how rigidly you've lived, no matter how much one has lived in accordance to the expectations put on them, there will be moments of breakthrough, moments of needing to accept what was, but also moments that say, you have to go another way, that you just cannot continue the way that you have been. Now it is time for a different journey. I'll give you one example, okay? Those of you who follow me on social media, if you follow me on Instagram, you know I love Daddy Yankee. I'm recording this in advance while I'm in Costa Rica, but at the time of this particular weekly horoscope going out, I should be in Mexico City going to another concert of Daddy Yankee. I'll be going to a few because he's retiring. January 6th is his last concert in Puerto Rico. Other than that, he's retiring. And I actually posted a little reel on Instagram. I don't recall if I posted a short here on YouTube, but in this reel, I showed his chart and I talked about how when you look at his chart, you look at the fact that he had Saturn conjunct his sun, exactly squaring, transiting Uranus, exactly opposite natal Uranus. So he had this larger T-square playing out in his chart, exact when he announced his retirement. And I remember looking at that and saying, this dude is done. This guy is done. He really is retiring. He really does not want to continue on the path that he's been on. He really is ready for a whole other journey. That is the reality of the situation. He feels like he's come to the end of a particular journey with Saturn, but also he's ready to go a whole other way with Uranus. So there's this acceptance and groundedness in making a decision, but also the determination to live one's truth. And I'll tell you, because I saw him in concert in Costa Rica, and yes, I will see him. I'm probably right now dancing at his concert in Mexico City as well. you can really feel that the dude is done. You can feel that he knows that his soul is ready for a different journey. He's wrapping things up right now, but yeah, he's going another way. And it is a very big deal to honor that in oneself, to know that about oneself and to honor that in oneself, to make a choice and to be at peace with your choices. Mars trine Saturn starts the week off, and I think all of us in one way or another are coming to an understanding as to what journey they lost themselves in with those Neptune squares, where they went way off path, where they weren't ready to acknowledge what was really going on, the hurt, the anger. Now, with those Saturn trine, it's as if we are ready to take responsibility. With that Saturn trine, we are able to accept what is and decide what will be next. We get to look at the reality of the situation and where it is that in accepting that reality, we align with greater love and greater wisdom. That is when we are on the right track. Now consider this as well. At the end of the week, Neptune will go direct. This is huge. It has been since June that Neptune has been retrograde. This is God of the seas, energy of emotion and spirituality and illusion, but also delusion as well. While Neptune was retrograde, we were invited to go within and get really honest with ourselves as to where it is that perhaps we'd bought into certain illusions, but perhaps got led astray. Where it is perhaps that we hadn't given reality enough of a shot, enough to at least stay grounded, to understand the value of what could be taking place right in front of us now, and what it was that the evidence in our lives was showing us. It is now that as Neptune goes direct, slowing down, going direct at the end of the week, I think more and more people are going to start to feel like they're waking up from a dream. Now, for some, that wake up might feel uncomfortable. I have to say, we've got those squares happening as well that I spoke of earlier. And so, yes, there's this sense of needing to wake up out of an illusion, out of hope. And depending on how far it is that we allowed ourselves to go down that rabbit hole of fantasy, that wake up can feel jarring. But here's the thing, when Neptune goes direct, it isn't always comfortable, but it is welcome. Sometimes not in the moment, but very soon after. It is welcome because it is honest, it is real, it is true. It is showing us how things actually are. It's not letting us getting away with telling ourselves lies or half truths, telling ourselves that things are the way that we want them to be, rather than what the evidence is showing us that they actually are. Consider this as well when we look at the mythology of Neptune. And again, I did write a book called Prayers to the Sky where I explored the origin myths of the different planets. And Neptune was the son of Saturn. And consider that Saturn was given a prophecy that said, one of your sons would rise to become a greater god than Saturn ever was. And Saturn was overcome by, well, different people, different academics may debate what exactly he was overcome by. Some say jealousy, some say fear. Others, especially in more modern interpretations, we think about this desire of holding our children close. But in Saturn's desire not to have that occur, he started to consume his children. So he was returning his children to his body, to his source. He did that with Pluto. And think about the energy of Pluto. Pluto represents the god of the underworld. This is that stuff we don't want to look at, all that sludge that's underneath the surface that maybe we aren't always conscious of how it is actually leading the way to so many choices that we make. But Pluto offers us the chance at consciousness, which is part of the gift of Pluto as well. But there's a lot of pain there wherever Pluto is in the chart. It is Neptune who was also consumed. And think about the god of the sea, the god of the ocean. The ocean holds everything. Whatever goes into the ocean, it doesn't have anywhere else to go. Even if it feels like and seems like it's washed away, somewhere in that vast ocean, that which was given to the ocean does remain. And in the same way, Neptune will hold all of those feelings and will know that it's feeling something, even if it can't necessarily articulate fully, just the depth of the sentiment taking place at a given time. And as a side note, I will say Jupiter was also Saturn's son. And what happened was when Saturn's mom, Rhea, saw what was going on, she gave Saturn a stone and said, okay, this is Jupiter. And Saturn consumed the stone thinking that it was Jupiter. However, Jupiter was sent away and raised in love, raised in knowing that he would one day be the greatest of all the kings, the greatest of all the gods. And that's why we associate such positive sentiment with Jupiter. And there are other reasons as well. Of course, the sense of possibility is part of the energy of Jupiter as well. But with Neptune going direct now, it is a different energy. Neptune going direct now is an acknowledgement of where perhaps there have been things stirring within, whether it was our pain that didn't want to allow us to see it, or whether it was that it was the pain itself that's been stirring and we've had a feeling that it's there. Now comes a moment for real cleansing. But cleansing can't necessarily happen unless we are willing to be honest with ourselves. And sometimes honesty requires bravery. Acts of bravery take place every day in small moments. I know that we look at, these mythological stories. We look at Hercules and Ares, for example, and the incredible battles that they fought. And we think that that is an example of courage, and that may very well be. But as we walk through our lives, especially as people who are sensitive souls, people who are sensitive to the people around them, to be able to move through the day with that sensitivity, with the knowledge that the sensitivity exists, and to make it through the day, sometimes that is a great act of courage that deserves to be commended as well. I have had the great privilege of traveling quite a bit. I love to travel. If you watch me for a while, I got a Sag moon. I got to hit the road in order to feel like myself from time to time. So when I do travel, one thing that I've loved is Uber, right? Getting to know Uber drivers. I remember way back in the day, backpacking through Europe. There was no Uber back then. There was no smartphone back then. And that was a whole adventure in and of itself. Now things are a little bit different, which is great. And so I love talking to Uber drivers. I feel like if you talk to Uber drivers, you really get to know what a city is about, what a country is about. But also, you really get a chance to know another person in a way that can help you to know yourself in new ways. And it's incredible how people, in the intimacy and safety of their own car, which is kind of like, the shell that a tortoise will wear. The way that we look at tortoises and turtles as carrying their home with them, a car, for many people, especially if they work in that car, spend a lot of time in their car, can become that type of home that they carry with them. And so they have other people coming into this intimate space. And as much as very often they'll create space for the passenger to feel safe and to share, very often the Uber drivers as well, they just need that moment to allow them to share. And it is such a powerful exchange that can take place. And so I've heard all kinds of stories which have been rather amazing, but quite a few Uber drivers have told me about how they are sensitive to people's energies and how when somebody gets into the car, they really can feel if this person is not riding a positive vibe, that they're not on a positive wave. But they also can tell that even if a person isn't necessarily completely talkative or outgoing or necessarily all smiles, You can feel when someone's energy is essentially positive, when they are somebody who is bringing love to the moment, even if that love is the love that they're trying to give themselves in a given moment at that. And I have found that to be so intriguing. The ways in which a sensitive soul can still be an Uber driver. I mean, I remember way back in the day, way back in the day when I was in school and working in a call center, and you just didn't know who was going to be at the other end of that line when you answered. And the thing is that when you work at a call center, people don't normally call to say, hey, you're doing a great job and I love my service and just thank you so much. And that's all I wanted to say. Really, they don't do that. They call because there's a problem. They call because, in my case, because it was a communications company, it's like their TV isn't working, their cable's not working, their internet's not working, like something or other is going on. And you have to be there to feel that call. And I remember how, me being such a sensitive soul, I would have to sit in the bus on the way to work and I would like do a meditation. I would imagine like a shield of protection around me because it could take a lot out of a person. And the people who really thrived in that environment were people who had that ability to have some sort of a shell. And as much as I know the experience of calling up a company and wanting somebody who really understands and is compassionate and all of that, you want to feel that. And yet, the people who can really offer that, who really are going to connect on that level, the unfortunate thing is that you may be bringing positive energy, but not everybody does. And connecting with someone who maybe is not giving as much as they're getting, it can really exhaust a person at that. Well, Neptune going direct, I think it's about honesty. It's about getting really clear about what situations have taken a lot of energy, have felt draining, have felt tiring, and maybe just aren't worth walking anymore. And that really is okay. But it's also about getting clear as to what it is that strengthens the spirit and brings a genuine sense of faith that you can feel. What is it that allows you to feel that much more connected to source in a meaningful way? And by meaningful, I mean it gives your life meaning. It helps you to make meaning of the small moments as you move through your day. And yes, in its own way, to stay a sensitive person in a world with such varied energies, where energies sometimes don't always feel conducive to connecting to. As a sensitive soul, you don't want to just willy-nilly be connecting to all kinds of energies out there, of course. You want to connect with energies that ultimately strengthen you or lift you or energize you in some way. But to be a sensitive soul and to move through the world with that sensitivity and still have it, still be able to acknowledge that you have it, I think that that is a bold and brave and incredible act of courage. And wherever it is that any of us are on that journey, that truly is commendable. Now, Mercury and Venus are going to help in this journey this week as well. That is because Mercury and Venus are traveling close together at this time, and they are both reaching out to different power players as we go along through the week. So let's talk about some of these celestial connections taking place with Mercury and Venus. On Tuesday and Thursday, first Mercury and then Venus will stand across the sky from Mars. So this adds that much more of a personal involvement, personal investment in what is happening with Mars trine Saturn. Now, the great thing is that as these planets, Mercury and Venus, stand across Mars, they are also simultaneously speaking in harmony with Saturn. And what that suggests is, as much as we may find ourselves triggered, really, there will be stimuli, we will respond strongly. There's also an understanding of what the right response is, what response is going to inspire us towards greater self-respect. I have had the great privilege of getting to know a little dog in Costa Rica. He has become the great love of Costa Rica to me. His name is Theo. right now because I'm still in Costa Rica while I'm recording this. He's sleeping on the bed, and so I hope I didn't wake him up there. But I will put him here on the screen somewhere as well so you can see just the most incredible dog that I have met in a very, very long time. Gosh, just went right to my heart, I'll tell you. Very intelligent, very beautiful dog. When I'm out walking Theo, as I do once or twice a day, and I've been babysitting him, having so much fun with him, it's been very interesting to observe how other people are with their dogs. And I remember seeing this as well years ago with Biggie. If you've watched me for a while, you might remember Biggie, my ex's dog, and spending time with Biggie as well. I noticed this. And, you know, I've come to this understanding that sometimes some people aren't always very good to their animals. Dogs love us completely. If you are their owner, you are God to them. They love with such devotion, such presence. It's quite remarkable. But some people don't always accept that love consciously as they should. And sometimes, yes, some people might not be very good to their animals. Now, sometimes that's just in the way they speak to them. But sometimes it's also, and I've noticed that there are certain trainers that teach techniques that lead people to not be very effective with their animals, not be very nice to their animals. If I had to recommend here on YouTube, Zach's Dog Training Revolution, I remember that really was such a wonderful resource. That's what I always suggest to people, recommend to people to watch if they're looking to create a greater bond and to train a dog effectively. That is the way to go. Okay, having said that, I have seen good people treat their animals not very good, and they think they're doing the right thing. But they also know on some level, on some intuitive, instinctive level, they know that it is hard to respect yourself if you are not treating that trust and love and bond with enough reverence to bring kindness into the mix. It is very hard to respect yourself if you're not also respectful of the responsibility that you have to bring love to the best of your ability and to bring consciousness to the best of your ability to that relationship that you're going to have with your dog as well. This is my humble opinion, but really the way I look at the sky is my humble opinion. I think that when you look at Mercury and Venus across Mars, Mars trining Saturn, but also those sextiles of Saturn, where it is that perhaps we have not treated those places, spaces, people, pets, situations, where there's an opportunity to experience and magnify love, where it is that we haven't treated that love with reverence in thought, in word, in deed, this is where we get the insight that we really can do better, regardless of whom it is or where it is that that might be. This is a chance to approach our responses and actions through likely having an experience that feels very strong, that might trigger us, to put it very bluntly. A triggering experience where it is that we take that split second to respond with consciousness. It is in those split seconds that we earn our own self-respect. And really, when you have your own respect, it changes the way that you interact with the world. Yes, the way you see yourself, but also the way in which you understand yourself and your power, and all of your interactions transforms when you behave in a way that allows you to feel good about who you are, that allows you to nurture healthy self-respect in the process. This will be a great opportunity that many of us are going to have right now, and many of us will likely rise to that occasion. On Thursday, Mercury will speak in a conversation of tension with Neptune. And then it is either very late Saturday or at the very beginning of next week, Sunday, that we are going to have Venus speaking with Neptune as well in conversations of tension. And this is looking at the disappointment, the sadness, the regret as well that may be stirring within us. But here's the thing, as soon as you have regret, you have freed yourself of the karma of creating pain in yourself and others. As soon as you have that sense of sadness that you're able to acknowledge, you have freed yourself from the unconscious ways in which people might turn sadness into anger. And especially anger that goes out in a larger sense towards these monolithic groups that really is a very unconscious way to direct what ultimately is a personal experience of sadness. We get a chance to look at all of that with a week like this. What I love about this week for us, well, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Look, I think we are in very special times, and I think that this Mars trine Saturn is going to end up being the anchor that Mercury and Venus will use to help us to move through some very powerful experiences and make sense of some very powerful experiences and emotions as well. This can be a remarkable and special time for so many of us out there. It is intention that makes all the difference now. And having an understanding of what actions are going to allow us to fuel healthy self-respect changes the way that we understand our place in the world. But it also allows us to be in the right frame of mind and frame of spirit to appreciate where it is that we might be on our own unique journey towards greater love and greater wisdom. Just knowing that you are on that journey does say that you're on the right track. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares with thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm truly so grateful for you. And of course, if you want to know how all this incredible stuff speaks to you in your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only Cameron Allen. Superstar astrologer Cameron Allen is back teaching a course on medical astrology. And this is a 5-part course for which you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class with Synchronicity University's world famous choose your tuition rate. And that is on for a very limited time to go. And so you can click the link in the description below. Check out some of these incredible topics that Cameron Allen is going to be speaking about. Cameron really does bring together this understanding of body and sky and medicine and herbalism, and just brings it together in such a powerful and meaningful way. This really can be one of these experiences that helps you to start the year, because this class does start in January, helps you to start this year with a greater awareness and reverence around your physical self and how that connects to the cosmos. This is one of our more popular teachers. I hope that you'll check him out, and you can learn more and sign up now at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University presents one of our most popular teachers. Mark Lawrenson is back, and this time he's teaching a 5-part course on the lunar nodes, all about the lunar nodes. And for a very limited time, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class with Synchronicity University's world famous choose your tuition rate. Now, Mark Lawrenson brings so much love, so much wisdom, so much spirituality to his understanding of the sky And he really is a master teacher, I will tell you. He is the principal at the Sydney School of Astrology, and he is one of the biggest astrologers to come out of Australia, that's for sure. And yeah, like I said, he has one of the more popular classes that has ever been taught at Synchronicity University, and now he is back, and he is very beloved by all students who learn from him, really helping you to see your chart differently with a greater sense of love and wisdom, yes, but also a greater sense of understanding of how the chart is perfect. Your chart is exactly what it is that you need it to be to do all the things that you were created to do in this lifetime. That is a statement, a belief, an affirmation made by the Sufi mystic Ibn Arabi. And I feel like whenever I talk to Mark, whenever I learn from Mark, oh boy, I feel better as a result. I feel like I know my chart better as a result of the conversations that I have with him. And I know that students feel that every single time they go to one of his classes as well. So this is all about the lunar nodes. Very popular topic, a 5-part course on the lunar nodes in astrology, understanding your lunar nodes in your chart, and so much more. You can learn more and sign up for Mark Lawrenson's class, as low as just $5 a class with choose your tuition rate for a limited time only. Link is in the description below. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. Follow me online, especially on Instagram, if you want to see some videos of Daddy Yankee. You want to see me dancing to Daddy Yankee, if that inspires you at all. You can check me out there. But yes, very happy to be here with you. And just thank you. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.